Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing very well. We've got Gio from the Hammers chat. So how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
It's that no worries. So first West Ham on Sunday. How are you feeling going into it?
A bit nervous actually. We're recording this before we played Olympiacos, but prior to us playing Olympiacos, we've won one in our last 6 games. So we're not in great nick at the minute, West Ham, and there's a lot of talk around David Moyes' future. So I think he needs to get 2 wins here, Thursday night, and then beating you on Sunday. Sorry, he needs to get 2 wins. So I'm a bit nervous. But I'm looking forward to both games. Obviously, my depends on what happens against Olympiacos will determine my mood. That's how I'm feeling on Sunday. But at the minute, Dan, I'm feeling quite optimistic for both. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to both games.
Yeah, complete agree. And yeah, we are recording this before West Ham Supine match. So there is a lot of talk about David Moyes. He's been there quite a few years now, and yeah, you got your European trophy as well. How you thoughts on David Moyes?
I've never been his biggest fan, truth be told. I didn't want him when he came back in. I know people outside of West Ham, some people watching this will think you're off your head. 3 seasons European football, you won a trophy. How can you not like him? I respect what he's done and what he's achieved. I just don't like his football. I think when you're winning and you're yielding results, you can stomach it, you can put up with it. But when things aren't going great, like last season, we're in a relegation battle for 90% of it in the Premier League. And yes, we won the Conference League. And I'll get on to that. But we were in a relegation battle and the football wasn't great. So the football's bad and the results are bad. But like I said, when the football's poor, but the results are good, you can put up with it. And I can put up with, and I speak for myself only here, I can put up with good football, but perhaps not the best results. As long as I'm entertained, I'm okay with that. But the Conference League was a massive highlight. It's up there, one of the best days of my life watching West Ham win a major trophy. However, if somehow Nottingham Forest qualified for the Conference League this season, I'd expect you to go and win it next season. I think the level of opponent we came up against wasn't anything to write home about until we got to the final, really, and played Fiorentina, and obviously we won it. But fantastic achievement. But I think finishing 7th in the Premier League is harder than winning the Conference League.
That's interesting saying, because I know I spoke about it on your channel, and so saying about when I look at West Ham in Europe to the Premier League, there are two contrasting teams, and how you faced it then, like the level of opponents that you do come across. It makes sense now from like how you said it. So I completely agree with you about Moyes. That I was surprised when he went back for the second time. I know they all say don't go back, but who should Forest be looking at for on Sunday?
Bowen, obviously. And you've got Kudus as well, who's finally come into the team. He had to be patient. He's in it now. And then we've got Lucas Paqueta. But we're still unsure how Moyes is going to fit all them three in the team and Michail Antonio if he goes to Antonio. Now, I'm hoping he doesn't start Antonio and he keeps Bowen up front, Kudus on the right, and you can play Paqueta on the left or in the middle. But we're going to have to wait and see. We've not really seen Moyes come up with an answer yet for all those 4 players starting. He's not had to, because the way he's managed the team so far, he's been able to, Paqueta's been suspended for last weekend, for example. So it allowed him to go with Antonio, Kudus and Bowen. He didn't have to worry about Paqueta. But he's going to have to sort something on Sunday. Maybe not tonight against Olympiacos. You could leave out 1 or 2 players and should still win. But on Sunday, we're going to have to go with our strongest team. So that 3, Paqueta is just an incredible footballer. He's not consistent. He will lose the ball. But the skill of the boy's got is just not like anything I've seen for a long time now. Bowen's in form. Kudus is in form. That's maybe about it. I think Ward Prowse has been off the pace a little bit. Antonio's been off the pace, or we've conceded every game by 1, which was against Sheffield United. So you will probably score on Sunday. Emerson, our left back's probably been our best player this season and doesn't get the plaudits he deserves. But so some players in form, Dan, but there's a lot of players not really hitting heights at the minute. So it's a bit concerning. But yeah, Bowen and Kudus especially has that X factor. He can do something a bit like your Gibbs White, if you like. He can do something on his own, and that's, you've got special talent when someone can just do something like that and score a goal or create a goal or something. But Kudus is that player.
Yeah, I was going to mention about Michail Antonio because obviously he used to play at Forest, went to West Ham, and he seemed to be at West Ham for years now. Like he seemed to become like the proper furniture, and I mean, he seemed to be linked to Forest quite a few times this past year or so. And I mean, and he always seemed to be that when people start questioning about him, he seemed to pop up with like some moments. What is your genuine view on Antonio?
I think he's been an incredible player for the club. I think Moyes wouldn't have been successful without Antonio, but I don't think Antonio would have been successful without David Moyes. I think the way we play up until now, we've needed Antonio in the team. We've tried to replace him with Sebastian Haller, with Gianluca Scamacca. We've spent, between the pair of them, we've spent, 70 million on two strikers to try and replace Antonio. We've not been able to. And it's not because of the players we bought, it's just because of the way we play football. And this is why Awoni would probably be perfect for David Moyes, actually. Someone that has that physical ability, someone that can move, someone that's mobile and physical is what you need for David Moyes. And Awoni's got that. And in seasons past, if you took Antonio out, we just struggle. We just can't do it. But this season, Antonio's struggling. I think he had a good start to the season, but the last month or two, he's not been the best. And I think you're seeing that. I don't think there's coincidences in football sometimes, but I think when Antonio was playing well at the start of the season, we were winning games. Now, Antonio's not playing well and we're not winning games. I don't think that's a coincidence. So I think Moyes has to try and come up with something that doesn't involve Michail Antonio in the starting 11. And we've seen glimpses with Jared Bowen up front. We beat Arsenal last week in the Carabao Cup with Bowen up front and Kudus on the right. And that's what I hope we do long term. But Moyes loves Antonio.
Yeah. Yeah, he loves that bit of a target man up front as well. He's very old fashioned, David Moyes. I mean, as you said about it, you try and replace Antonio and it don't work. So you do sort of look at David Moyes in terms of his tactical approach.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's up to him to get something out of the players he's got, because he's got top players at the club. He's had top players at the club that perhaps haven't worked and they've had to move on. And you look at Scamacca now, and he's gone back to Italy and he's smashing it over there. And it's no surprise. Sebastian Haller left us, went to Ajax, and then now Dortmund, smashed it in Ajax before getting his move to Dortmund. It's no surprise. So he needs to do something. And I think the solution is, like I said, Bowen up front, who's not a striker. He's not a striker, but that is probably the player most likely to succeed in a striker role under David Moyes. Another non-striker. Antonio did it. Arnautovic did it, who was, winger previously at Stoke, who had played up front in Bundesliga before he went to Stoke. But Moyes' strikers, he doesn't like them. He liked them at Everton, but for some reason he doesn't like them so much now.
Yeah, I always remember him at Everton with like Andy Johnson or Beattie and all that. So I completely agree. But looking from outside through on Forest, who would you say had danger players are, or how you feel about Forest at the minute?
Yeah, I like Cooper. I was glad you stuck with him, and I feel a bit hypocritical saying that, because I wanted us to sack Moyes this time last year during the World Cup. I was hoping we'd dismiss him, and we didn't, and it was a bit. I was a bit disappointed, and this is where I feel hypocritical, because I saw Cooper at Forest and I was glad you stuck with him. And it wasn't because I wanted to see you get relegated. I actually want Forest to do well. But it's because I think Cooper's a good manager and, he had a whole new squad to work with. And I thought, well, you're going to need time to do that. And I was pleased they stayed up, because while they spent a lot of money, and I think that can sometimes make fans hope you go back down, or you can't come up here. But if you're going to stay in the Premier League, you're going to have to spend money. You look at the three promoted teams this season, none of them have spent big. and they're all probably going back down again. Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton are probably straight back to champion. Only Bournemouth are really giving them a bit of a fighting chance. And another team that perhaps didn't spend that much. I could be wrong about that, but I don't feel like they spent loads of money in the summer. But yeah, I like Cooper. I think this season, I think you're better tactically. I think last season was every time I tuned into Nottingham Forest last season, there was a different starting 11. The defence was changing every single game, and sometimes you'd have Aurier at right back, and then you just every time I tuned in, it was constantly changing. Your back four was different every single game. Sometimes it'd be Wardle, sometimes it'd be McKenna. It was just constant. But now it starts to feel like you've got a bit more of a settled team this season. Like you said, especially in midfield, and Johnson leaving it felt like a big loss for you, because actually while you were chopping and changing a lot last season, Johnson was probably the most consistent player in the start. He was starting every week, bar one or two games when Cooper dropped him, and rightfully so. But him and Gibbs White felt like the only two players that were guaranteed to start for Nottingham Forest last season. And now one of them's gone. But you've got more of a settled team, and when I tune in now, I feel like there's more obvious patterns in your play and how you're building play up, etc. And I think you'll be fine this season. Even if you have a bad season, I don't think you'll go down because of that teams we've mentioned. So I think it'll give you a good season, just to 2 seasons of Premier League football under your belt for a lot of the players, for your manager. I think that's a good thing. But with the money you spend in an ambitious owner, I think you're going to have to do more eventually. But it's just a case of how patient is your owner, and is Cooper the man to do it? The answer is I don't know. I don't know if Cooper's good enough to do what your owner wants to do, but he's a good manager. Moyes is a good manager, but I don't think Moyes is good enough to do what West Ham fans want, which is to stay in that top 6, 7. Is Cooper good enough to get Forest in the top half and keep these up there? I don't know. He's got good players at his disposal now, though.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as you said about the patterns this season, are a lot more better. And it's having that consistency and having that sort of like core group of players. Because I even said it after the Villa game on Sunday. I mean, we played the new goalkeeper, Odyssey, and we had Nikati and we had Murillo. And I said it was a big gamble for Cooper to do that on Sunday, especially with Watkins. Obviously, he's in form, and Derby and how well they have done this season. So for Cooper to take that risk and play them in there and an untested centre half pairing, it's a big gamble that paid off. But yeah, I completely agree with you on what you have said. So, I mean, on Sunday, what sort of team would you expect?
From
Uh,
West Ham or
yeah,
Forest?
West Ham.
Our strongest, whatever that looks like, it'll be our strongest team. I don't think Zuma will play against Olympiacos, but I think he'll play against Forest. So, whatever, it's basically why I always call it Cup Final 11. If you had a Cup Final, what would the team look like? But I think that's the team you're away to get on Sunday from us, because we need a win. And the thing is, if we win tonight and we beat you on Sunday, we're top the group of Europa League. We're in the quarterfinal of Carabao Cup, and we're in the top half of the Premier League, probably going into the international break. I think that's a really good start to the season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's your score prediction for Sunday?
2-1 West Ham. I
Yeah,
think we'll concede, but I think we'll win. I think we'll win.
yeah, that's fair. So, do you want to tell all the Forest fans, everyone, your YouTube channel?
Hammers Chat, if you somehow want to hear more from myself, just Google YouTube, on YouTube search bar. I call it Googling on YouTube. Google on YouTube, Hammers Chat, and you'll find more of myself over there.
Yeah, so do the cross. I've done on Hammers Chat as well for that position field for Sunday's match as well. So the link will be in the description anyway, as well as the title for the channel. So thank you for coming on, as per usual.
No problem, Dan. Pleasure.
So thank you for watching, guys.